Hi, my name is Nancy Cambria. I'm the Communications Director for the School District of University City in University City, Missouri.
Hi, I'm Gary Spiller, Executive Director of Student Services and Innovation for the School District of University City.
So University City sits right on the border of the city of St. Louis. The town of University City, Missouri is really historic, and we're very proud of our school district because of its long legacy of great graduates. That includes the author and playwright Tennessee Williams, and more recently, the rapper Nelly. University City is super cool in that it's progressive, and it also has a real unique mix of residents. It's racially diverse, but it also has some extreme issues with socioeconomic. We have neighborhoods with mansions and chic shops and restaurants, and we also have neighborhoods grappling with some pretty severe poverty. So it's really important at our school district to make sure that everybody is included, everybody is on the boat, and everybody has a voice and say in what happens.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about our intentional use of restorative practices to promote well-being, to promote equity, respect, and joy amongst our students and stakeholders.
That's right, Gary. So earlier this year, our school board went so far as to pass a really unique resolution that really codifies in our school policy that we use social-emotional learning, restorative practices, and other things to make sure that our students are at the center. We want to humanize our students because we know that that's going to be the best thing to lend to them succeeding in learning and later on in life. So, Gary, what really does humanizing the school climate mean for University City schools? Where are we now with that?
I would say with humanizing the school district, University City, it's about creating a culture of with. Nobody likes when things are done to them, and we're not setting our kids up for success whenever we're doing things for them. But when we have high levels of expectations and we provide high levels of support, we can do school with them to prepare them for life and beyond our doors. We've had an intentional approach of trying to move along the spectrum to become a trauma-informed school district. I'd say we're very trauma aware. We're taking steps intentionally to make sure that our classrooms are safe places, academically, physically, socially, emotionally for our kids to learn. We're also have taken some steps over this past few years to become a restorative leader in our region and in our state when we're looking at restorative practices and repairing harm that is done from student to student, adult to student, community to student, adult to adult. We're really trying to do a better job at that just to make sure that we are putting our kids first.
Yeah, I see that yellow ball in your hand. Can you explain a little bit more what that is about? It's sort of the center of one of our unique practices that we use.
Yeah. So one of the practices that we use, K to 12, is the practice of doing circles in our classrooms. We have learning circles, community circles, harm circles, but with the circles promote equity amongst our kids, promotes equality around the room. Balls such as these, like this mindful stress ball here, are used as talking pieces. Again, the person with the ball has the floor. The attention is given to that person as well. We found our restorative circles in the classrooms to be going really good. Again, it is about creating small communities within our larger whole to create ownership. Again, to really see our kids for who they are and support them to be their best selves, their greatest self that they can be.
Right, and everybody has a voice. We even have a really well-respected basketball coach who uses restorative circles in his coaching.
Yeah. Coach Kelvin Lee is our basketball coach. Great coach, 14-time Coach of the Year. But he's also a restorative practice specialist at the high school. So restorative practices, for us is about making that intrinsic thing, the thing that we know things kind of feel right. It's about making them explicit. So he does a practice with his boys of circling up each and every single day. Right after MLK Day this year, the boys had a really emotionally intense circle in which they were just kind of talking about what that meant. And, they identified what it meant for them, what it meant for their team, what it meant in a greater context out in the community. But what that did was stories began to come out. right?
Right.
Where kids were able to talk about real issues. Coaches were able to talk about real issues. I don't think there's probably a dry eye in the room when you're thinking about a real tough macho sport like basketball. Our boys got to be real and vulnerable, which bonded them together and created that strong sense of community, which I think helped them to win their first conference championship since 1995.
I know. It was amazing. I did talk to two of the students, and they don't think they're beatable next year because they have this bond now that they couldn't have built without those circles. So I think that's a really good example of how that works in our school.
Yeah. And I think also with those bonds, it's about creating those bonds in the classroom, right? When you feel like you belong, you feel like you have a voice, you feel like you're supported, you're going to be able to learn at higher levels. And whenever you come in and have kind of a crummy morning or a crummy day, you know that there's going to be people there to help you out. Yeah. So I think that's definitely a benefit.
It's become automatic that the kids have a check-in with one another, and I think that's really great in building community.
I agree.
So tell me about the board a little bit. Why did they now decide to do this resolution? When I say it's pretty landmark, there's no other school district in the Midwest or in the state of Missouri that has anything like this. What was the message the board gave the district, and why now?
I think we've got a pretty amazing board. I think they understand the moral imperative behind the work that they do, the work that they lead on a daily basis. I know that there's an ethic of excellence that exists among them. When we're looking at, doing school, we're impacting lives. This isn't just something that we show up and do.
Right.
I think that our board, they're a very intelligent group. So I've said it before, they've got the heads to do the work, but they also have the hearts to do the work. And what they understand is we've got some amazing educators in this district, some amazing leaders in this district who have also the hearts and heads, but the hands and feet to get it done. So I think that when we're looking at like the perfect time to do a restorative effort, there is never a perfect time. I've often said, it's not restorative perfection, it's restorative practices. So you have to dive in where you are and do what you can do to make things better. And I really applaud our board for doing that. That was a courageous step to take those steps forward to make sure we're good.
That leadership is a foundation of the work that is happening here, along with our superintendent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Dr. Harden is awesome.
Tell me the direct impact, say in the last 2.5, 3 years that you've really seen in the school district. Where are you really seeing it among students and family and staff? Some of these work. I notice a pride in our school district that's really elevating now, especially among parents. But what do you see?
So one of my roles in this district is I'm a district hearing officer, which means that when difficult situations arise, I'm the one that takes them in. And I've adopted just using, some restorative questioning, with our kids and our families when some of the tough stuff comes up. We'll ask questions about, what happened, what were you thinking when it happened, what have you thought about since, who was harmed or impacted, how do we make things right, what's the hardest thing? So we have a lot of different questions that we process with. I think from a restorative end, we are leading in the area of really going through and digging through difficult situations with kids and families. I think we do a very good job, and we're humane in that process, where zero tolerance policies in other places are not so much. I think we're doing a really good job there. We're doing a good job at repairing the minor harms that come up on a day-to-day basis, right? Just some of those classroom disruptions or just silly things that pop up in the ecosystem of a school. We're doing a good job there. But I think the place where I've seen the greatest impact is just the overall depth of relationship that's taking place. And it's not perfect, just like there is no perfect relationship. But the depth of relationship and the opportunity to create meaningful one-on-one relationships with students and staff, I think that it's opened up doors and opportunities to get to know each other at a deeper level.
One of the things that someone told me, which I really thought was fascinating and really made sense, is that some parents, in their own experiences going to high school and middle school, didn't have the best experiences with school. So it can be sometimes traumatizing when you have to go back into the school with an issue like this. Do you really feel this has helped that situation so parents are more able to be able to interact and do this on a positive level?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've heard a number of times from parents, I wish I would have had this, or I wish this would have happened to me when they were students. And also, I think a pretty cool thing that we've also experienced is we've had former educators, retirees come back and say, I wish that we had this whenever I was teaching, back in 1980 or what have you. So this is, It's been really neat, just to kind of see our parents go through this process as well. Can I share an example with you?
Sure.
So we had a very difficult situation in which law enforcement was involved about a year ago, and students were suspended, people were arrested, including parents, and we actually did a restorative circle around this work.
Wow.
And in that process, to see people who were at odds, still having to go through a legal system, having to go through discipline process in a school, come together and share, moments and tears and heartfelt messages, to end it by saying, I love you, and I accept you, and I'm sorry. Yeah. I apologize for the harm that I've caused. I think that those things have been huge. So from a parent lens, from a family lens, when we're talking about fixing harms, I think that there's no better way to go. And I do believe that U-City is leading in that area.
And it takes a tremendous amount of courage, I would say, for a school district to take that step
and time.
To have that, and time.
And time.
But the outcome was just so worth it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Will build goodwill for years to come with parents. That's
absolutely.
Great. So we also talk about enabling student voice. And where do you see that we really enable them with voice?
Well, number one, we're creating leaders for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that we strive to prepare our students for their future, not our past, right? And in doing so, we have to allow them to have voice and choice, and create opportunities and platforms for them to do that and share that. We've had a number of unique experiential opportunities for our kids. Like our kids recently, in remembrance of the Parkland shooting, stepped up and did some anti-gun violence and awareness on gun violence, did some work there. Our students, are leaders. Some of them are leaders for social justice. So they've stepped up and voiced their opinion on things that they haven't felt were right in our greater community and also in our schools. So that's been there. But overall, again, it's about creating leaders for a future world, and voice is crucial. Voice is important. So, it's been good. Yeah,
we've really seen that with service learning and service projects in our district. I think this past year there were more than 20 really large group projects in which we were bringing attention to things like the gender pay gap, to water cleanliness, to recycling and reuse. That is a real empowerment and voice
at all
issue
levels
for students.
Yeah, at all levels, from elementary to secondary. It's been great.
So, Gary, what advice do you have for other school districts? I'd say, where would you say we are along on the continuum? We're like we're making our steps. We're making progress. But what advice would you give for school districts who are wanting to do something similar or sort of just starting out?
I would say, number one, start with where you are. There is no perfect time to get in the water. If you see things that you can make better, or we can make better, go for it. So you have to start with where you are. Second is to make sure that you're maximizing your human capital, your social capital. Right. Find that team that's going to be courageous and take those steps with you, and know that things aren't going to be perfect, but they have the vision and the will in order to figure out a way to get things done. So I would say that with that group, make sure you include student voice. We've got some amazing student leaders in our district that have contributed greatly to changing some policy, to standing up and leading for their fellow classmates in the school, whether it be working with students or adults. Include youth in this. You have to include them. That's what this is all about. But more importantly, just stick to the mission. It's going to be tough. As I said, it's not restorative perfection. It's restorative practices. It's going to be icky at times. Sometimes it's going to require a lot of time, work, effort, and energy, and things will turn out great. And sometimes it's not going to turn out great.
Right.
Sometimes things are just tough, and we can't automatically restore everything all the time. But just stick to the mission. Remember your why and your purpose, and just continue to fight for our kids.
And think long term. There's one other thing. As a fairly new employee with the district, I've noticed that self-care is stressed not just with students. We have ambassadors training to work about kids with self-care, but also among staff and administration. Tell you just a little bit about that. Yeah,
so self-care is important. I know we've kidded around like if you don't feed the adults, feed the kids.
Right.
But also we have to feed the kids. So But yeah, there's been a lot of self-care efforts going on. I know we have, pre-K kids doing yoga. We've got elementary kids practicing mindfulness. We've got secondary students doing meditation and yoga and mindful, all that kind of stuff. But for our adults too, we've got some wellness activities going on. I know every Thursday in our district we do yoga, we do mindful stretching in the morning for staff. So there are tons of opportunities out there. But really, it is about taking care of self, because one of those things that, secondary trauma and, empathy overload, those things are real. So it really is one of those things that we have to take care of folks. Humanizing the school district is not just about humanizing it for our students. It's about our staff as well. So we really have to be intentional in those efforts as well. Gary,
we can't do this alone. Talk about community partners and how important they've been to humanizing the student experience in our school district.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been all hands on deck. We have some amazing community partners, like Alive and Well Communities here in St. Louis. They've done an awesome job of helping us to become that trauma-informed school district, providing coaching for us, working with our school level resiliency teams multiple times a month, getting in, just really supporting and really helping to share the knowledge. We've got other partners such as Wyman, who provides wraparound services and supports to do like a coordinated impact, make sure there's no duplication of services and that services are provided where they're needed. So, I would say those are two primary examples, but for anybody doing this work, really, you have your work within the district or your school that you're working in, but we really have to look outside our walls, because there's expertise all around that benefit our students, our staff, and ultimately our community.
Right, and as long as we coordinate it well, they really will be wraparound services.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Gary.
All right, thank you.
Be well.
Yeah, be well.